Hey everybody, Shep the Trader here. I'm going to do a deep dive today on the currency market, show you what I'm seeing, why I think overall a person should be bearish on the foreign currency majors and bullish the US dollar, at least for now. So, why do I think that? Well, let's start with the fundamentals underlying the market, and what the fundamentals are is the COT. What does the COT tell us? The overall positioning of the people that know a heck of a lot more about these markets than you or me ever will, the big brains. The COT in the dollar index shows us that the red line, the commercials, are extremely long. They're very, very long relative to the 26-week look back. The positioning reported by the commercials is extremely long. We've also been extremely undervalued versus treasuries, which is the brown line, and fairly recently undervalued versus gold. So the dollar index itself also has a pretty strong seasonal tendency to rally into, I think, all the way into November. We'll see. So basically see that we're kind of in line with the seasonal tendency. Typically we do make a lower low in August compared to the May lows, so we did that. We came down here, but now we're in that sweet spot right now where we typically rally in the dollar index until about November. So we have seasonals on our side, the positioning of the smart people, the commercials, is on our side, and we've been undervalued. So we have a whole lot of reasons to look at bullish situations or bullish considerations for the US dollar. So let's take a look at a major foreign currency, which would be the euro, and let's see how it compares. And what we're going to find is that it's basically the opposite setup of the US dollar index. So let's take a look at the euro. So the euro, we see the commercials are extremely short, that red line. The commercials positioning really short. A couple weeks ago, we saw very exuberant investment advisor sentiment when it's juxtaposed to what the commercials are doing, the people that are smartest in this business. That's a nice setup. We've also been very overvalued relative to gold, treasuries, and the US dollar. So, and we've also got this nice little thing I'll show you here, the bubble up. So these are net positioning lines. The red is the commercials, the blue is the large speculators. When we see this bubble up occur, it often occurs at major market turning points. We saw this bubble up here that preceded a major market bottom. We've seen the exact same phenomenon happen again here. This bubble up is most likely a fairly major market top. Heading over here into seasonals, what we did see is that we see that right now we're in a bearish seasonal time for the euro. So that's all good. So that's the setup. Let's go take a look at why I think this should continue. And I'm going to use the British pound just because it has some nice, clean, big swings, just to show you what I'm looking at. So we've got a whole lot of good things technically going on here. We've got a 20 period moving average downtrend sloping down. We've got a 20 or a 50 period moving average downtrend. We're below it and it's sloping down. So the trend is in our favor. Those measurements of trend are telling us that we are in a downtrend. We also have price making lower lows and lower highs on the daily chart here. So basically, take your pick of mechanisms for determining what the trend is. They all look very bearish. So what I'm looking to do this week, and I think that we're getting close to having a nice sell setup or sell trigger in these currencies. Basically, we've rallied. We're in a downtrend. We're in a COT setup with bearish conditions underlying the marketplace, meaning that these sell setups should be higher probability. So we are very overbought on the percent R. We see here the 4, the 10, and the 14 period are starting to get very overbought. Overbought signals in a downtrend are great selling opportunities. Then also using the moving average on the 14 period RSI, we see it's below 50, which tells me that this downtrend, the momentum of this downtrend is actually quite strong. And so that's all good. So how am I going to look to participate? Well, right now I've got this overbought bar. I've got the low of this overbought bar marked out. I want to see the bears follow through below that on the 1 hour. I want to start seeing some bearish follow through to then get short, and I'd ultimately be targeting this low. And if we use a target shooter, taking the extension of this swing, that would take British pound down to this level, just close to 1.28. So that's what I'm watching for in the British pound. It's the same thing in the CAD, same thing in the yen, the New Zealand dollar, the euro, of course, and the Swissy. They're all in bearish trends. They are all bearish COT setups. Basically want to see the bears follow through and step up. And in other words, to summarize in this video, I think to be bearish the US dollar right now technically doesn't make a lot of sense. We're making higher highs and higher lows. We're coming into an area of technical support. We have that 50 period moving average, which is going to start to flatten out and round to the upside. We're in a technical area of a Fibonacci retracement. We're very oversold. The moving average of the RSI is above 50, showing us that the overall momentum, the relative strength of this trend is actually quite strong. So these buy signals should have some strength to them. And what I'm looking for ultimately on the US dollar is for it to make a new high. We're making higher highs and higher lows. Wherever this higher low comes in, I'd expect it to trade up to around 100 and then the extension up to around 102 to 103. So basically, be cautious if you're a US dollar bear. I think the odds are for the immediate term, next week or two, are in favor of the bulls. And of course, Donald Trump can come out and ruin this thesis, but the COT and the trend and everything that I do to determine how to take my trades tells me that the high probability trades are in favor of foreign currency major shorts and US dollar longs. So if you have questions about the COT or any of this stuff that I've talked about here, feel free to shoot me an email, shepthetrader@gmail.com, and I can also get you into my free Discord where there's myself and a group of other guys in there talking about the markets every day, sharing setups and just talking about things, and overall some generally good camaraderie in group there. So don't miss that. Shoot me an email, I'll get you a private link. And like, subscribe, leave me a comment, ask me questions. I'd be happy to connect with you guys. Hope you found this valuable, and I also hope that you have a good week in the markets this week, and look forward to chatting with you guys next week. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.